Hey guys, some of you really want me to keep the YouTube, some of you really want me to keep doing Insta stories. But basically, I have to do both because I have to record it twice, so I'm not sure, if I'll keep both. But anyway, here I am trying. I wanted to talk a little bit about traveling alone as a female traveler because that's how I've always traveled, and I'm getting a lot of questions about, safety issues and stuff like that. Um, Obviously, some countries are more dangerous than others, but for the most part, everything is exaggerated. I went to Egypt right after 4 Americans were killed in the embassy there. That was 2012. And even my Egyptian friends in LA said, don't go to Egypt, don't go to Egypt right now. I did, and there was lots of times when there was a few times when it wasn't really that safe for me to be there. And those are the times that I would just have to take extra precautions. So, like, to go to the pyramids, I hired a guide as opposed to like when I normally totally wouldn't have, especially super touristy places like that. It was just a better idea. I also paid a little bit more in Cairo to stay in a nicer place that had like a gate with guards and that kind of thing. And maybe that was overly precautious of me, but in those situations, I'd say, it's a few extra bucks, it's gonna be worth it. And those nights that I slept well. Because the thing is, in countries like that, especially if you're Western and you're blonde, it's really hard to hide that. And even if I was wearing a scarf on my head and a long sleeve shirt, there's still going to be catcalls in the street in broad daylight, and it kind of puts on sirens to let you are there. I think I saw the only other two blonde girls in Cairo. What was that area called? It was a great area where I had a stunning mango juice. um, but yeah, so you're gonna stick out like a sore thumb. It was completely worth it. I'd go back in a heartbeat. Everything worked out fine. I had a couple experiences that were a little bit scary, but that's probably one of the only countries I'd say that I felt really at risk. One time in Cambodia, but you just don't do certain things in other countries that you would do in your own. You don't feel as comfortable. And that's kind of the thing I always liked about it, because sometimes it's better to not be super comfortable, right? At least for me, it was. Um, so there's a lot of things you don't necessarily do that you would do in your own country that you wouldn't do in other countries. I remember when I was living in South Africa, it wasn't a practice um, for young women, blonde women or white women, to walk around at night in the streets alone. Like, that wasn't a practice. Whereas, even though it was probably kind of dangerous in LA to late. It depends on how late at night we're talking. But even like, I mean, I rode my bike or skateboarded to and from work in Venice, and Venice is known, I mean, to be a little bit rough at night. There would be stuff we would hear about going on the boardwalk all the time. Um, but I never felt at risk there, and maybe a lot of that was me putting, um, was was me just putting myself out there too much because I felt so comfortable in my own country to do that kind of thing. Whereas in other countries, I wouldn't have done that. So in South Africa, like, when people say just, you don't walk around at night, you don't. And and there's things that let you know that that's not done. Like, I mean, you don't leave your iPhone sitting on a table in South Africa. It'll just be immediately taken. And you walk down the fence and you hear barbed wire fences and the electric, like, zap. You know you're in a place that you have to be careful. So I think that can sometimes be healthy and just keep you on your toes. And I'd say don't let it stop you from going places and doing things. But yes, you'll probably have to be overly precautious as a young female. And sometimes it gets tiring, always looking over your shoulder. Absolutely. But it comes down to how bad do you want it. And a lot of that also, I think, is good because it requires some extra precaution to who you allow into your force field or into your circle. Like, who do you want, because you want to make sure the people that you're going to surround yourself with are going to be safe people. So if you're like extra precautious already, even if the people like aren't from there or they're just travelers, you don't know these people, you don't know anything about them, they're not your friends from back home, you haven't known them since you were a child. So again, you have to be overly precautious, right? Because you have know nothing about these people. And that's another thing that I think is really good, because you're gonna enter the situation slowly, and you're gonna really evaluate whether you should, hang out with these people for a couple days or go wherever they're going next and hang out along with them. Um, and that's a great practice. um, and all of that being said, you will encounter many other travelers from all over, because the only affordable places to stay are going to be hostels, bed and breakfast. Maybe you organize staying with a family or something like that. But there's going to be other people from all over the world there, and that always makes it safer. So that helps a lot too. And also, you might meet some great friends, lifelong friends, which is always great too, because then you can go to their country and visit them. Um, so, so yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. I'll keep it short and sweet.